One and all present here, welcome to the Mask Leadership Leaders Connect, where leaders create more leaders. Episode 026. And my name is Prakash Sharma, the founder director of Visa Training, as well as the author of the book, The Mask Leadership. The Mask Leadership community is built with a specific objective of creating 1,000+ leaders, wherein week after week, we request all the working professionals and the business professionals to write their real-time challenging situations about leadership on leading self, leading others, or leading the business. And what we do every week is where we invite top management leaders from the corporate company who will share the solutions for the real-time leadership challenges which we are facing. So that's what we do here, the Mask Leadership community, where leaders are creating more leaders. So today, if you all are ready to start with our guest, Dr. Ankita Singh, who is going to talk on specific topic or going to discuss on a specific topic, which is called nurturing millennial. So if you all are ready, type in the chat box ready, and we will go ahead to start. Great, so that's one was already ready, which is Sujata Pau is ready. And members as well as the visitors, type in ready on the chat box and we will go ahead to start. Wonderful. Thanks very much for typing in ready. And before we start, let me share a quick, we are also live on YouTube as well as Facebook, and we are also currently muted all the members, and we will be giving an opportunity to interact with Dr. Ankita Singh as we are coming at the end of the session when there's an open question and answer session. So great. With all these, but specifically one important point, it would be really great if you're able to turn on your cameras, as the session is going to be very interactive and interesting as well. So feel free to turn on your cameras where we'll be able to see you and we will be able to interact with you. So all are ready to interact with Dr. Ankita Singh. Let me give you a quick personal information about Ankita Singh, and then we will move on to the background of professional information through a video. So Ms. Ankita Singh, a single mother, and she has an 18 months old daughter. Her name is Amaya Singh, and Ankita Singh likes photography, traveling, badminton, and playing basketball. And a lot more to know about Dr. Ankita. Here's where you'll be looking more on the professional insights through the video, and then is where we'll be taking it up from there. So let's have a look at her professional experience through the video. So Manish, we can go ahead to play the video and we continue. Yeah. Thank you, Manish. Yeah, that's right. So members as well as the visitors, type in the chat box, welcome Dr. Ankita Singh. So Dr. Ankita, kindly unmute yourself, and thank you very much for turning on your camera as well. Welcome, Dr. Ankita.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prakash, for this power.
Ankita, I believe it's muted again. You can just unmute yourself. It will be helpful. Dr. Ankita, is it unmuted? Is it unmuted now, Dr. Ankita?
Yeah.
Great.
It's
Thank you very
unmuted
much.
now.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Welcome, Dr. Ankita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prakash, for this wonderful welcome. And thanks to all the members for all these messages. I think this will help a lot. Super excited to be here and share my views and learn from everybody who is present here. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Ankita. Definitely, well, it's a pleasure that you have joined us this evening on the specific topic, nurturing millennial. And definitely the video, when I'm sure members, the video might have shared the experience, the gamut what Dr. Ankita has today. And that is what is going to be shared with us today. So I would like to ask the first question, in fact, before me sharing the first question to you, Ankita, let me ask an open question to all our members as well here, as well as the guests who and the visitors who are here. So the first question, members as well as visitors, what do you mean by millennial, or who are millennials? So the first question, because that's very important for us to know. So who do you think are millennial? Because the topic itself says nurturing millennial. So I'm looking forward for your answers on the chat box, members. Who do you think are millennial? So let's see the answers, because that's very necessary in the first context to understand, and that's when we are going to go ahead with our questions, and Ankita is going to help us on the same. So let's looking forward the answers. Who do you think? How many of us in this community here have heard this word called millennial? So Harisha Goal says it's people. Yes, Harisha, right? It's people, but between the age group of from where to where, I'm sure that's specific. We call it as millennial. So who are millennial? Any idea? All right. So I believe the most of the members are yet to get into the understanding of who are millennials. So let me give a quick brief of who are millennials first, and why have we named the topic or title? The topic is nurturing millennial. So millennial are the people who are born after 1980s and early 2000s. And people who are born in these are called, yeah, that's when Sendil Kumar writes 1981 generation. Yeah, thanks very much, Sendil Kumar, for typing in that. So after 1980s or early 2000s are called millennial. And these are the people currently, if you look at them today, are either at the middle management position or even at the positions where the junior management positions in respective companies could be. So when these people are in the respective positions, how do we nurture such people? Because these are the future leaders. And these future leaders are the people who are going to take up our company to the next level. And such people are the people, then how are we actually going to nurture them? So, but there are a lot of challenges we had received. In fact, honestly speaking, we received challenges with respect to nurturing millennials, or is it we need to manage millennials? And that's when we are going to discuss this particular topic. It's just not managing, it is nurturing millennial. And I believe Dr. Ankita is there for us to take up this first question. Dr. Ankita, I believe you've gone again on mute mode, or I believe your camera is off. We request you to kindly turn on your camera as well. That will be helpful.
Yeah, there is some issue with the system. I think I had to log in from the phone. Hope this is better.
Oh, you're logging from the phone. But thank you very much for doing so. That's great. So, Ankita, so I've given a quick understanding for who are the millennials. So the first question which we received from the challenging situations from our community and the other people is this. The first question is, today's millennials are actually expecting more flexible working hours, and or they could be more holidays they could be expecting. and but less of hard work they want. And this is how the mindsets have been. And compared to the less seasoned leaders, this is the mindset that today's millennials are having, is a challenge which was posted on our site. So maybe know what is your view on this, Dr. Ankita?
Thank you, Prakash. I think that's a very interesting question. I think half of us who are right now on the call would say more holidays. I would not say less work, but they would say balanced work. Yes. And a lot of this has to be contributed to COVID situation, because it has actually made us learn how we can still be at home and still work. My take on millennials, I will not purely go by definition, but a little broader aspect. When we talk about any organization, we are dealing with multi-generational workforce, right? So we have, in most of the organizations now, we have 5 generations working. True. And you have defined millennials already. Now, when we talk about millennials, there will be few policies and processes which will be at fundamental level, and that will be at org level, right? So there are 3 steps. First is org level, which completely depends on the culture of the organization, what sector we are talking about, leadership team, their ideology. All these things will define the first level basic common policies, processes for everybody. Second level would be managerial level, where we assign teams to each manager and they understand their team, where obviously there would be few millennials. And because of the team composition, working hours, etc., they would be treating their team members differently. And the third and the final phase would be individual. So directly, indirectly telling that every millennial would expect less hard work, and they would want more leaves. Yes. They would want less working hours. I don't think it's going to be ethical. I think we need to treat individuals more like individuals than a group. So today, when we are in the we are more into technology, when we can use technology and we can understand each individual. My request would be that we should understand what that individual is going through, what's that individual's capabilities and challenges, and then understand why the need is such, whether it can be addressed, or the manager has to tell the do's and the don'ts about the company and the structure or the team composition. Probably everybody would understand. As I was talking to you and I shared if I talk about my organization, 30% of our employees are millennials, and they work beautifully. I think they are open to adapt. They are open to learn new things, and they are much faster than we initially thought of. So that's a beautiful lot. Now, the second part of your question, what we should be doing about it, I think each manager, the person who is handling millennials, they need to assess the needs. What's the purpose? When we hire them, we have a JD right in front of us. We hire them on the basis of JD. How come there is so much gap after they are in the system? Why are we saying that now their expectation is such? Something would have gone wrong in between, probably your expectation or their expectation. So we need to assess the needs. We need to understand the purpose of having them in the system. Second, talk about it. A lot of managers, I think initially I also used to do it. I used to convey, I used to communicate, but probably halfway through, where I used to tell them, this is my expectation, but we never used to talk to them. And when we talk about millennials, they definitely want to understand why they have been hired, how they are bringing value to the table, and whether they are treated in the right manner or not. So first is assess your needs. Second is talk about it, understand why there is a gap. And third, that I have already shared, don't purely go by generalized approach. Organizational level is already taking care of that. Some of that is being taken care at the managerial level. But when you are dealing with individuals, when you are dealing with millennials, treat them, personally, wherein know how that individual is, how he would want to be part of the organization or your team, how he or she would want to connect with you, and that will really help to bridge the gap, if at all there exists any. So that's my take on that, Prakash.
Excellently answered, Dr. Ankita. If you could see that, that means you were one of the very catchy words you said, that we need to treat individuals as individuals. And when we start respecting them itself, which will really take a understanding. And the gap is all about the managers who have hired, and why now is what the point you're highlighting. It is when we know the JD, and that point itself we need to be hiring them accordingly. Great. So now that we are able to understand that it is the self managers who are responsibility, the way how we hire and how we define a culture. But we have another question in the deeper to this. Now, there are challenges. Also, one more challenge has come out where one of the manager from an IT company from Mindtree, Nagendra Prasad is his name, he says that it becomes too much challenging to micromanage these people. And he feels that though these millennials are aware about their roles, though they are aware about their responsibilities, and they are aware about the values, but still they shy away from taking up the responsibilities. And it becomes very challenging to micromanage such people to do their role, is what is the person from Mindtree Consulting is what shares it here with us. So maybe know what is your views on this, Dr. Ankita?
Prakash, I'm extremely sorry, but I think I'll again start with don't generalize, because those times are gone when it was easy for us to say that this is a group of people and they will behave in one particular manner. Now every individual is different. Situations are so different that everybody is handling their role profile, their personal life, their professional life quite differently. We don't know what's happening at their end. Probably not everybody will openly share their stories. So I understand when we talk about managers, it is equally difficult to assume, presume, and understand what's going with the team members, if at all they are not sharing it directly. But we have to define that line. We have to limit ourselves so that finally the outcome is attained. Now, when we talk about micromanagement, it's not only about millennials. I think today we are in the zone when we talk about modern leadership or management style, micromanagement should not exist. Nobody would like being micromanaged, because indirectly we are telling them that you are probably not capable of handling it all alone. So every single step you take, you have to show it to me. And that means we are questioning the capability of the individual. So that's not one thing which everybody would enjoy. But I think when I go back to books, we have always learned about SMART goals, right? Which talks about how specific we should be, how time bound it should be. When we primarily talk about millennials, I think they understand it really well. And not only millennials, if the communication or whatever we convey from our end, when we talk about KRA, we do have to ensure that those are SMART goals. We tell them that this is what is expected, but at the same time, we ask to complete this task what support you would need from the organization, what support you would need from me as a manager, and what support you would need from the co-members or the other team members. If you are taking care of these three things, as we discussed, we already know the job description. We know that we have hired a capable person. And if you're taking care of these three things primarily, I think everything is set. Now, empowerment is second thing, which becomes very important. The solution, the simplest solution, I would say, is when you are at a stage where you think that I have probably tried everything and still this individual is not working. And obviously, I want my work to be completed. So I have to micromanage. I have to just see what he or she is doing individually on everyday basis. Ask questions and find answers to why this is happening. Second, what should be done? If at all you are able to improve or improvise the entire thing, what? If at all you are not able to, then what's the next step? Because we are thinking and talking about a broader picture, which is the organization output. And the third would be, how do you improve it? But the thing is, the three sections, why, what, and how, the participation of the person whom you are micromanaging is also equally important. It should not be one-sided. You should be sitting with the individual, understanding all the complications, all the help he or she needs, where are the gaps, what are the challenges, personal, professional. And I think that would give us the right answer and probably guide us in the right direction, and we'll be able to take the final approach where micromanagement would disappear. I think somebody mentioned in the chat window as well, nobody talks about micromanagement these days, and nobody should be talking about micromanagement these days.
Rightly identified and shared, Dr. Ankita, what in fact Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan shared that very rightly. Nobody likes micromanagement, but your answer had given us more clear insights that yes, even the managers, they also do not like micromanaging. But what you shared was very good. Though the subordinates are aware about the roles, but if they aren't performing, they're shying away from the responsibilities. How do we manage? The first step, what you told, was the questioning, ask the questions to them, and the second, what to be done, and then what needs to be taken forward. Very nicely told. Which we understand that we should be moving away from micromanagement and not at all get into the micromanagement. And we need to start giving freedom, and that's the culture where every human being has a lot of understanding the way how they can do. Great, Ankita. Rightly
Absolutely.
shared. So let me ask you one more question which has come up from there. So now that we've been discussing about how do we nurture then the millennials, but we also have seasoned leaders who are almost having more than 20 plus years of experience in our community here. So for these seasoned leaders, what is your suggestion? Do we get flexible to adapt to the millennials thought process, or do we need to nurture the millennials to our culture? What do you think we need to be doing?
I think today we are where we are talking about hybrid model, and I think hybrid is the word which would exist everywhere. So when we talk about way of working, it is hybrid. When we say place of work, it's hybrid. When we say gig or non-gig, it's hybrid. Similarly, if your question is whether we should adapt, we should be flexible enough, or we should simply mentor, I would say it would again be a hybrid model.
Yes.
Nobody, no matter what level of experience we have, even if we are at a managerial level after 50 years of experience, probably the individual who has joined yesterday would have a little more to teach looking at the current situation or the current era. So we should be open. Managers or leaders should understand that this is a time when we are dealing with people, we are working with people, we are not controlling, we are not simply leading, but we are being participative. So that's really important, and it has to be both pull and push, right? So you have to pull them towards you with whatever learnings you have wherever required, and at the same time you have to push them to take their own steps and take their own decisions when you know that they are right. So acceptance is really important. To answer your question, Chris, in a crisp manner, I would say it should be both. We should introspect, we should understand what we are best at, and it's not that I think it is right, but when we know it is actually right, that knowledge should be imparted to the juniors. And at the same time, when we know that what they are suggesting, at least it's worth a try, we should be open enough to accept and be as much flexible as possible and adapt as early as possible. If you know that the right thing is coming your way, we should never differentiate if it is coming from a junior person. So you have to be open, and it should be both ways. Be flexible and at the same time keep nurturing.
Any challenges in your organization we face where seasoned leaders find it challenging to adapt? Any examples you would like to share where seasoned leaders are there, but they're finding it challenging to adapt from the other people?
See, there are a lot of things. I think the simplest people would be able to connect. So we are from the time when for everything you need to had approvals on papers, right? A signature was important. Now, when you change this, or like because of virtual thing, if I may take the example of having one-to-one meeting for the final round of interview. So our seasoned leaders would definitely say, we have to hire this person, and we have to meet. We need to look at the individual body language, how they are coming, what time they are coming, what they are sharing. Suddenly, because of COVID, when everything was online, we accepted. We have closed the senior most position completely online, right? It was all virtual. But there were managers, recruitment managers who were probably just 8 years of experience, and they were suggesting that we can do it. It would save on time, it would save on cost, but they would probably not accept at that point in time. But now things are changing. we have been talking about ROI in everything, right? When we talk about business, it's about ROI. When we talk about HR or employee engagement, it's about ROI. Be it seasoned leader or millennials or the mid-level people. I think ROI, or what impact in terms of number and in terms of time it will give or organization would get, has to be communicated clearly to the leaders as well as others. I think acceptance level increases. If at all we just simply talk about it, no matter whether it's a seasoned leader or anybody else in the organization, they would think that we are hypothetically talking about it, but reality is far away. So initially, yes, we faced a couple of challenges, but we introduced a program which is LEAD, and the acronym stands for L is leaders, which is the top management, then E, which is enablers, HR, and other supporting services, and developers. Developers are the junior most. So any training, any initiative, any change that we bring in the organization, the flow has to be in the upward downward direction. So it starts with leaders. So whatever change you want to see in the system, you tell them that you go through this training first, and then the juniors would go. And that brings in a lot of balance, because they know what we are getting into and what changes are expected, so that later they don't question the system or the employees.
Wonderful. Excellently shared that it all starts from within a self. It could be either a seasoned leader or it could be a millennial. So even a
Yep.
seasoned leader is from our side within ourselves, where we need to get into a training that lead based, or have we really attended, or have we really gone digital? Are we able to experience the digital? So these are the basic challenges to comes out with. Wonderful. So these are the other certain places where we need to be start being adaptable as seasoned leaders.
Absolutely.
Since you're sharing, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, correct. So, Ankita,
No, Prakash.
as we're sharing with regarding the seasoned leaders, one more question with seasoned leaders is, what do you think are the skills required for these seasoned leaders to build on? What do you think these seasoned leaders should have a skills to nurture such millennials, so that that will be more easier, more friendly approach? So, how it could be done, and what are the future
I think
skills these people?
I think one you recently shared, adaptable, and that won't go anywhere in coming years, or probably even if we talk 50 years later. Adaptable is one thing that they have to have. Acceptance is another thing. I feel that it's very critical, because things are changing. People will come, people will go at the same time. People at the same level have different perspectives and direction of thinking. So for a leader to work with multi-generational force, or millennials, if at all we are talking particularly about them, they have to be open. They have to accept that the things are new, things will be different every day, and they have to set in. Empathize is one thing we have been talking for last 9 to 11 months. When we say COVID, I think empathy is one word everybody would relate to. But I think that's one thing. It should always be there, because it's really important when you are leading a team, or when you are working with people. You should know what they are going through, where they are, where actually they are standing, and how far they can move in which direction, and what support they would need from you. Earlier, it was more of one way. Now, I would say leaders have to be participative. They have to be part of the team. They have to become a team member before they become a manager or a leader. Collaboration, I think, would be a sub outcome of these. The last and the most important one, I would say, is value. Because no matter who you are handling, or with which generation you are working, it is really important to value the individual. It's really important
Yes.
to value your ethics. It's really important to value your system and culture. And if value, not only as a term, but actually in a practical sense, it is there, probably 99% of our problems are solved. So yeah, these are few skill sets I would say that any leader for managing any generation would definitely need.
Definitely. That means values is the first blaze which comes, and what values a leader starts demonstrating makes all the difference. And the values has to be set right for the leader. If the values are very clear, that means it could be, the millennials either from Generation X, Generation Y, or Generation Z, we will be capable to handle.
Yours as
It's
well.
all
Yeah,
about individuals. Rightly told, it's all
true.
about individuals sharing it. Wonderful, Dr. Ankita, for your insight, which has been shared, which gives more clarity to people that finally it could be millennial, it could be a seasoned leader. First, primarily, we are individuals, human being, and if they are treated appropriately, then next is all secondary, and that's when you give an excellent base as values. Wonderfully shared. So, Dr. Ankita, now that we have shared these points, we are going to have a quick quiz now, and for our members to understand what are their key understanding and learnings. So, for the quiz, we have our member, Mr. Rangarajan, is going here to ask a question to all our members. So, Rangarajan, if you're on, I would request you to turn on your camera as well as unmute yourself, and then we will be able to
So
go ahead with the quiz.
I will.
Over to you, Rangarajan.
Maybe Shantaraj can.
Prakash, thanks for giving the opportunity. Thanks, madam. Whatever the point which has been explained were very good and it was interesting. So for the participant, this week, the contest winner is going to get the Mask Leadership book. Faster fingers first. And as usual, people, the question is, madam has explained what are all the three basic quality which is required to nurture a rigid leader. Who is a millennial? Madam has given the three qualities which is required to manage the rigid instead of doing the micromanagement.
So one is ethics. You can go ahead, Rangarajan.
Ethics is not the thing. I doesn't asking for the LED, that LED thing. The question is, madam ask the important question which is has been asked today: how to manage the rigid leader instead of doing the micromanagement. We all people hate the micromanagement. So the three policies which is going to think, we are expecting the answers. So second is managerial. No. We are asking how to manage them, how to manage the people, because rigid people will always be the rigid. To change them, we have to do the three things to make sure they are doing in the perfect way.
So Rangarajan, may I answer?
Yeah, you can get your own book, no problem.
I think Ambika has given some
answer coming out, Rangarajan. Ambika.
Yeah, Sendil Kumar has given two answers correct. We are expecting all the three answers should be done.
Okay. So
Ambika has given the short answer for the second thing. Ask questions. Lakshmi Nariman sir has given ask question, discuss. One more answer should be there.
True. So the hint was Dr. Ankita said what, why, how, the points.
That is also correct. It should be very short. There should be extra words to should be added along with. Then only it will be meaningful. We are expecting answers from you.
So Rangarajan, I would suggest, since time is becoming a little precious, so we would go ahead. Who has got the more two answers right? Let's go ahead with them, and we'll give the answer.
Lakshmi Narayan sir given the more appropriate action, because we have to ask the question, discuss with them what should be done, and how to improve.
How to improve? That's what, in fact, I also give you. So the question types, which is what, why, and how.
How.
This model is what Dr. Ankita did. So what, in fact, so let's go ahead asking questions and then empowering and then make them accountable and how do you improve. So that's about right?
Yes, absolutely correct. Over to you, Prakash.
Okay, thank you very much, Rangarajan. So Lakshmi Narasimhan sir, we would request you to kindly unmute yourself and you get the Mask Leadership book this time, and we are giving you an opportunity to ask a question. So members, kindly type clap on the chat box for Lakshmi Narasimhan. And for the other members and visitors, Rangarajan is the senior manager working in a company called Nash Industries in Bangalore, and he heads the company. And Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan is from Tata Trust, who is also part of here. So Lakshmi Narasimhan, kindly unmute. You already done it. So
yeah. Good evening. Good evening. Madam has given example, and she has also given some what you'll call ideas how to handle the millennials. Of course, we also should be ready to understand the millennial, and we have to what we'll call discuss together to arrive at a solution. That is what is ultimately I understood from the session.
yes.
So thank you, madam.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, do you have a question, Lakshmi Narasimhan sir, to Ms. Dr. Ankita?
Yeah. In fact, of course, in my previous organizations, I was also handling the millennials. Sometimes it will be to be frank, sometimes it will be irritating because they will not try to understand what we are saying. And of course, as Madam was mentioning, we should be also little more patient enough to understand what is their problem. So most of the people are not even ready to listen. That is my experience. But of course, I cannot generalize. Exceptions are there like this.
True.
Absolutely.
Handle such individuals, madam.
Sorry for taking a very funny example, but I think that's the most probable one. So imagine we have 3 kids at home, and one is probably 2 years old, the other one is 4 years old, and the third one is 6 years old. 6 years old would have understood your style at home, and they would understand whatever you are asking probably immediately. The second one would take a little longer. The youngest one would not even understand a word. Maybe because he or she is new in the family. Maybe the way that worked out with the eldest one would not be the same for the youngest one. He or she may want to be treated in a different manner.
Okay.
The language that he or she understands probably is a little different. You know, a very simple example, a 2-year-old kid somewhere for water would say pani or water, and somebody would only say mum, you know, because that's what they would pick from somewhere. So I think millennials also are similar. Most of the individuals are great. I would say the only difference is that they wish to be treated, or they wish to be communicated or connected in a different manner. We just have to find out that way. I'm not saying it will always be zero challenge situation. There will be individuals where the managers would do 100% or probably more than 100%, and they'll still find those challenges. I think those categories will have to be treated differently. But in general, most of the people are kind enough. Most of the individuals are great. And if we find out that different way they wish to be treated, a different way that they wish to be communicated or conveyed, they would be very much in line with our thoughts. And I have personally believed, I think for last 6 years, not even one person from my team has resigned. And when they ask, how do you ensure that they work? I just tell them that I ensure that they are happy and they get clarity and transparency from my side when we talk about KRA. The day they start working for the manager, the day they start understanding manager, I think problems are solved. Till the time they work for KRA and the organization, there will always be a gap. So we just need to understand them, ensure that they are part of the family. Once they get that comfort, they'll give everything, whatever they have.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Wonderfully shared, Dr. Ankita. That's wonderfully done. So, members and other visitors, if this is a time where you can ask questions to Dr. Ankita now. And if you feel that any questions are there, the 2 options: either do raise your hand and we can give you an unmute option, or 2, you like to type in the chat box the question. Please feel free to type in the chat box, and Dr. Ankita will be happy to answer you as well. So I believe Rangarajan has already raised his hand. Rangarajan, would you like to share a point or
Yeah.
like a question?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. As a guy coming under millennial category, as madam told, if you give the freedom and the team spirit and the relationship, I'm able to perform. So I want a question, what the thing key activity which millennial need to correct? Something, what is the drawback they are having, which I also have unintentionally, I also have the same. I want to know which is the thing I have to correct.
You are asking as a millennial, what are the things that they have to correct if at all there is a gap?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Again, I would say let's not generalize, because nobody would be able to say that the entire lot has this problem, or everybody who is categorized as millennial will have this particular problem and they have to correct. As I said, that there are a lot of environmental factors. There are a lot of things at professional level, personal level, individual level, which would define our characteristics and the way we react to a situation. If at all, sometimes we are able to do our work in 2 hours, and next time the same amount of work we are not able to complete in 4 days. The question is not on our capability. Probably the things around us were not same for those 4 days. So we need to understand, and I would say to find solution to all these questions, or if at all we are coming up with such issues, we need to have a one-to-one connect, an open conversation with the individual. I know that this is more about millennials, but I would say let's start. I think first step for a millennial would be to start treating the other person as an individual, start respecting the position that a person has already gained because of the experience and the work. And at the same time, from the other end, the senior, they also have to start accepting the individual's capability and not bifurcating them on the basis of that they have just joined and they don't know anything about the corporate world or the work that I've been doing for ages. The day we reach that level where we start talking and we start understanding individual, any gap, no matter what gap we are talking about, communication gap, collaboration gap, KRA gap, output gap, anything, I think all will be sorted out. So we just need to have an open mind, clarity, transparency, and at the same time, the trust between those two people who are interacting, who want to work together and ensure that they reach the defined goal that they have defined for themselves, the organization, or for that particular individual.
Great. Wonderfully shared, Dr. Ankita. Rangarajan, I believe you did get your answer for the question which you have shared, being more open, more transparent, and that's when the trust you build. Yeah. And definitely that's one of the steps which he shares was need to sit one-on-one, and when we sit openly, discuss one-on-one, most of the points are actually sorted out. So thanks very much, Dr. Ankita, for sharing. So members and visitors, any other questions you have before I get into, oh, there's one more question. When I asked this on the chat box, you're able to see from Sendil Kumar. He says, Sendil, what is your recommendation? Okay, Dr. Ankita, this question is for you. What is the recommendation to Gen X? Okay, X is 1965 to 1980. Oh my God, okay. And 1980 leader, the current situation to manage millennial and Gen Z from 1996 to 2010. Okay, so he's asking maybe what's your recommendation to either Gen X or Gen Z? What are your recommendations? That's what he's asking, Mr. Sendil Kumar. Am I right, Sendil Kumar? You can just unmute yourself also, Mr. Sendil Kumar, to answer that. Have we understood your question correctly?
Prakash, I think he's asking question how the generation X to manage generation Z.
Yeah, exactly. The question is how the generation X should handle millennium as well as generation Z. Because right now it is very crucial for the generation X, because those people who have reached the top management ladder would have been in a very highly accountable and responsible position. So it is very crucial that how they challenge both the millennial and the Gen Z.
Yeah, I got the question, and I think that's the issue that a lot of us are facing. That we have reached a ladder, we have reached a level where we are managing people who are senior to us and who are junior in terms of age. But I think that's what we were discussing, that more than going primarily by only by age, we have to understand the individuals, do not generalize, understand what the individual is talking about. If at all you are handling a person, or you are dealing with a person who is very senior to you in terms of age, but at the same time you are managing that individual, or that person ends up reporting into you, your way of communicating, your way of connecting with that individual has to be different from the way you are dealing with the millennials. And now a lot of people would say that if at all the individual is not working, I'll definitely shout. I don't think that again that generalized statement can be given. Probably we have to find a better way if at all we want that individual to understand and work with us. We have to find out a way which is more acceptable to that individual than to our organization and or to the self. So that has to be defined. Now there would be second section where you are still at a junior level, but you are managing a senior person who is, say, Gen Z or Gen Y. How do you manage them? Again, respect is one thing which I would say not only for the older generation. I think it has to remain there for every individual, even if it's millennial. When we talk about it, when we say that we have to maintain a professional decorum in the system, that includes respect, that includes clarity, that includes transparency, that includes value system being intact. I think when a mix of all this is taken in the right combination, and we deal with individual in a certain manner, keeping all these things in mind, no matter what generation we are dealing with, it will never be a challenge. Or at least my personal experience, I'm also working with the organization. I have 5 generations working with us. I have never felt any challenge in particular when I was interacting with them, probably work related or personally, just rapport building, or simply discussing numbers, because I have always kept individuals in mind. And I mean, if at all, probably the entire 35 minutes of our session, if Prakash would say one line or one word that you would say which will give a solution, I would say start treating individuals only as individuals. I would give a simple example. I mean, let me take my own example. I am not so much on phone or on WhatsApp. My mom, who is 67, she is 24 hours on phone. And she is very active on WhatsApp, and she wants to check everything. She wants to read everything that's going on and around in the world. That's the difference. Now, if you say, that generation, 65 years, they would not even know how to operate phone. That's a myth. A lot of people have adapted very quickly, and they are exploring at a much higher speed. And me, who's at this level, and people think that, oh, you must be sitting with your phone throughout the day, which is not the case. So that's why I'm saying the day we start categorizing people on the basis of age, there will be issues, because things are not same. Every individual has a different identity. They have their own preferences. They have their own challenges. And I think those should be understood. And each and everybody should be treated as per their comfort level, of keeping company policies and processes in mind. But when we are dealing with individual, it has to be an individualistic approach.
Wow. Excellently answered, Dr. Ankita. We are reiterating the points, which is the basics is what you're highlighting, reiterating the very important basics again and again. I'm sure the aspect of age differences is not here. It's a matter of more of individuals. We need to treat individuals, respect them is what you're highlighting. Great. Wonderfully shared. So, Senthil Kumar, I believe you have received the answer, but still, if you need more detailed answers, we can definitely get in touch with Dr. Ankita a little later as time is pressing.
So, Prakash, sorry to interfere, but just want to add that see, there has been a lot of researches done when we talk about multi-generation workforce. We know that when we talk about Gen Z, there are characteristics defined, Gen Y, Gen X, millennials, everybody. And I'm not contradicting. I'm not saying they are wrong. What I'm saying, like in the organization, you all would agree that you have 8 leaves or say 15 leaves, but if at all there is an emergency, your leader would say, your manager would say, I will manage my project work, but I want to give him 2 more days leave. I'll manage, don't worry. So that deviation is what I'm talking about. There will always be fundamental laid down approach when we talk about generation. There will be few characteristics linked to each and they are perfectly fine. All I'm trying to say, take that extra step and understand that individual, and that will help in bridging all the gaps that we have been talking about in the last 30 minutes.
Perfect. Excellently shared. Understand the individuals. Wonderfully added the point, Dr. Ankita. Good. So, members as well as the visitors, let me quickly summarize as of what all we have understood from this session of nurturing millennials from Dr. Ankita. That will be helping. So, Arul, please do share the slide of the explanation, which will help. Or let me take you quickly through on my background itself. That will be easier for us to understand. On my virtual background, you'll be able to see a quick slide, which is as a part of the mass leadership. So here are the 5 basic elements of leadership. One is the productive habits, PH. UH is called the unproductive habits. And we have key skills. And we also have positive feelings, which is called the PF. And NF, the negative feelings. So out of all these are the 5 basic elements of the leadership is what we find. And here today's topic on nurturing millennials, if you could see, most of the points what Dr. Ankita was sharing about the productive habits which needs to be used to nurture the millennials. It is irrespective of, it's not by age, that's what we've understood. It is every individual is an individual and we need to start treating them and respecting them. So giving the respect, what they need. Every individual is a human being. That's what we need to do. So respect is a productive habit. So that's what, in fact, today Dr. Ankita Singh also shared initial start for the question which we had asked about how we need, because there are a lot of understanding about there are people who are not working. We also came up with the next question called micromanagement. And for the micromanagement, she clearly said that today's leader's role is not to micromanage. We actually need to go more and more deeper in understanding the 3 basic simple questions. If they are not performing, the subordinates are not performing, or the millennials are not performing their respective roles, let's go ahead, ask the question, explore what is required, and let's sit and discuss. So the what, why, and how will definitely solve out, she said. And she also came up, next is what are the seasoned leaders, what are the few skills required for seasoned leaders. She did say that more of acceptance is required, more flexibility is required, more transparency, and we need to start more openly interact with the people. Sit with a one-on-one with them, it definitely will really add value, and these skills will definitely take us higher the way. It is just not for us to understand that I may be a seasoned leader, but we need to be more and more open to them will really help. And there were a lot of other questions, but we can truly understand, Dr. Ankita, with the one point which you're really emphasizing, let's not generalize any statement. Here, every individual is an individual. Let's not generalize people in terms of the age barriers. And instead, let's go ahead in terms of adaptive. Oh, wow, that Sendil Kumar has written adaptive acceptance, empathize, participate, collaboration, and value. Thanks very much, Sendil Kumar. We are able to understand the depth of understanding which you have got from this particular episode of Dr. Ankita Singh. So, members, I would like you to, or visitors, let me share with you all then the quick understanding, this all understanding which we have got. And every week after week, we have next week also, we have one of our guests who is going to come up, which will be shared with you on our WhatsApp group, who is the guest for the next week. And let me give you for the visitors, let me share with you quickly that every week after week, on Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. is where we invite the top management leaders from different corporate companies who come and share the solutions for the real-time challenges within our members who are in our community, as well as working professionals. So members, if you have your working professionals, your colleagues who have challenges, invite them, ask them to write the challenges on the website. themaskleadership.com. That's where you will see on the chat box, our member will be highlighting themaskleadership.com, where you can write in all your challenges, and your challenges will be accepted, taken, and be shared with our guest, who will be giving week on week the solutions to better nurture. And we just don't stop there. For us, we need to understand how are we tracking this. So for all our members, we also start tracking what are you actually being able to apply. So every member has a login ID, login credentials. We are tracking the learning curve of how the demonstrations has been done. So for the visitors, feel free on open. You have my contact number also, and then on the chat box, you're able to see from Rupalakshmi, as well as the link which is there. Feel free to discuss with us more openly as what Dr. Ankita told. And if you feel to join our community, it's always welcome. It's always free. Have a mindset of open mindset. Learning is a continuous process, and the more of learnings we do continuously, that's when constantly we keep growing. So with all this, thanks very much, Dr. Ankita, once again for being here, for taking your time and addressing our members as well as the visitors who have been here today. So one last message, if you have to give to our members in the community, what is that one message you would like to share, Dr. Ankita?
I think I have already given a lot, but I would just say that when we talk about empathy, I think that's the mantra which we all should remember. The day we start treating ourselves with empathy, we understand our situation, we start treating ourselves better. And similarly, when we understand and empathize with others, we make the world really beautiful. And the example that I gave about, no matter what we do or what they do, we never give up on them. We keep trying because they are our own kids and they are part of our own family. Being managers, no matter what situation we are dealing with, we should not give up on our family, which is our team members, that easily. Give your time, give your love, give your strength, whatever you have, just invest well in yourself and in them. I think it's going to be a beautiful world, and at the same time, beautiful workplace.
Wow, wonderful. Definitely, let's together make the world a much better place to live. And millennials all are there, all human beings. And I'm sure the way how we are moving forward in creating leaders, more leaders also we are creating. That's where they've coined as leaders, are creating more and more leaders. And just not going to stop here. From our community members, here also we are going to start creating more and more leaders, and the change will continue. Great, Dr. Ankita. Thank you very much for coming here, taking your time and being in here. So thank you all members as well as visitors. So please do not forget, or I would like you to remember, rather than me saying do not forget, let me share that. Let me remind you saying that let's type in your learnings on our group which we have. So the key learnings, what we received from this particular session, which will help us, even our other members who have missed out today. And that's completely fine, but we have the recording, which will also be sent to you to your logins. So thanks very much, Dr. Ankita, once again. And we have a final thank you.
Prakash, thank you so much. I think lovely initiative, the way you guys conduct it, and at the same time, the way you make it so interactive. It's really commendable. Enjoyed every bit of it. And thanks to all the participants as well. A lot of questions and comments and support. Seriously loved it. So thanks, Prakash and team, and to all the people who joined in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ankita. Thank you. Let's have the final thank you video for all. Thank you. once again, all the members, visitors, as well as the guest, Dr. Ankita. Thank you all. And have a great week ahead. And meet you all again next week. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.